Hey, how's it going, YouTube? Sigma Gent here, and I've got another video for you. There is a trend on TikTok where men are being blamed for the actions of a very small percentage of us. So yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it.
Why do men even say it's not all men? How can they even say it's not all men? And then I give you a response based on statistics. I'm then immediately demonized as being part of the problem.
Hey friends, so I'm going to attempt to shut down this not all men thing once and for all. So buckle up, save this video, send it to every ding dong and devil's advocate and podcast bro and dude who claims to be a feminist or an ally or a liberal, but who when it really comes down to it are absolutely fucking not. Before I begin, this video is for educational purposes and is not intended to bully or harass anyone.
So I'm going to pause it right there. You know, before we even get into what it is that she has to say, you can already see the kind of person we're dealing with here. Yeah, she has deleted this video. I can't find it on her TikTok page anywhere, but you know what? I saved it. So let's go ahead and continue.
Let's get into it. So for context, the video clip that I just showed is from a self-proclaimed ally who, when asked, how can you say, you know, not all men when talking about the topic of essay and grape? And he responded by providing them statistics with how it's technically not all men. And what's worse is that this creator allegedly has a master's degree in diversity, equity, and inclusion, which, you know, I don't want to take away from that achievement, but if your response to that is not all men after all of that alleged education, I might ask for your money back. You say that you share.
All right, I'm going to pause it there. Statistics. Yeah, you know, let's quickly talk about the stats. I didn't see the original video, his video, but I've done some research on my own and I have the stats that he probably referred to. So in America, there are about 500,000 cases of SA reported annually, and that's terrible. That's a huge number. I was very shocked to find that out. However, and I'm not saying anything to dismiss that number. One is too many. 500,000 is way too many, but there are 162 million men in America. So let's say each one of those 500,000 cases is a unique individual, no repeat offenders. That would make it so that there's about 0.3% of all men in America who are guilty of committing this terrible crime, right? And some will say, well, you know, only 1 in 3 cases are reported. So let's go ahead and triple that number. So that would still be less than a percentage of all American men who are guilty of committing this crime. Less than a percentage, right? So it's not the majority. It's not even close. So let's go ahead and continue because she's gonna touch on this again later.
Sharing these statistics in response to the conversation about male perpetrated SA and grape is not to minimize any women's experience of pain. And yet, we are literally here telling you it does. You do not get to decide what impact your actions have on others. You can try your best not to cause harm, but if someone says you have harmed them, you have hurt their feelings, you have minimized them, you have marginalized them, the appropriate response is to apologize, listen to understand, and actively try to do better.
I'm gonna pause it there. So what she's saying here is that if you respond with statistics, logic, and reason, someone who feels like their feelings have been hurt by that trumps your stats, your reason, your logic, and you should apologize to that individual. Is this the world we're living in today where I can say what's true and based off of how you feel, now I'm the bad guy? What is happening? What are we talking about? But let's go ahead and continue.
Not appropriate response was what you did, which was to double down. And not just double down, but to do a lot of pandering in between in the hopes that maybe some folks will be distracted at the fact that you are doubling down. The reality is that the impact of saying shit like not all men or sharing statistics in a situation like this, whether you intended to or not, serves to downplay, dismiss, and detract from women's experiences. And those experiences are that 1 in 4 of us will be raped in our lifetimes. And we know that 99% of the perpetrators of said rape are men. But I know you know those stats already. So here's where I blow your mind. As women, we don't qualify our statements and say some men or a few bad apples for a very specific reason. It's the same reason why we say it's all men till it's no men.
Okay. There it is. There is a point that I wanted to get to. So she gave us some stats, 1 in 4 women, and let's say that stat is true. My main concern, and she said it herself, you just heard her, it's all men until it's no men. That is the most absurd thing I have heard in my entire life. That is pretty asinine. Let's think about it. It's all men until it's no men. Oh, it's never been no men. Those guys who we're talking about, that 1% of men, those are criminals. Those are degenerates. We've always had criminals and degenerates within society, in any culture. When has it ever been no men committing crimes? And these are some of the worst crimes ever. These are heinous. But there will never be a point where we can get rid of all degeneracy. So blaming the majority, the vast majority, the 99% for the actions of the 1% is ridiculous. And let's think about this logically. You're not hurting the 1% of criminals and degenerates that you're actually talking about. They don't care. Hence, they're criminals, right? They're not sitting at home watching your TikTok going, oh my God, she's talking about me. Maybe I need to change my ways. Maybe I should not go out there and commit SA. No, these guys are criminals. They don't care. So your actions and your words have no impact on the people that you're speaking of. The only impact they have, negatively, I might add, is on the men who do not commit these crimes. It kind of reminds me, I'm going to get off on a tangent here, but it kind of reminds me of gun control. Banning all guns, making guns illegal in America. Do you think the criminals, the criminal element, the degenerates, the people who don't care about the law, do you think they're going to be like, oh my God, guns are illegal, I guess I can't be a criminal anymore? No, they're not going to care about that. They're going to continue to do their criminal activity. They're going to get guns illegally. They're going to do it anyway. In fact, the only people that are affected by banning all guns would be law-abiding citizens, good people who want to protect themselves and protect their families. Do you see the parallel there? You are speaking on a very small percentage of men, yet your words are only impacting the men who have never actually committed the act that you're talking about. This entire conversation is insane to me. It's crazy, but let's go ahead and continue.
That's because every one of you, that's right, 100% of you, benefit from, maintain, or contribute to the patriarchy that creates systems of violence that marginalize and brutalize women. Let me give you an example to help you out because I know this seems just simply unbelievable to you. A dude goes to a concert and ends up standing in line next to a woman who he thinks is cute. He wants to shoot his shot, so he tries to start a conversation and says, "What are you drinking?" And she just kind of rolls her eyes and scoffs and walks away. Now he is pissed. He didn't even say anything cheesy like you have nice eyes or a nice smile, and he definitely didn't say anything that would come off as pervy. So why couldn't she just have the decency to talk to him? Now let's think about what's driving that sentiment and what's driving his annoyance there. Part of it, however small and maybe unconscious, has to do with growing up in a society where men have been taught they are entitled to women's attention and affection, and where their feelings and perspectives are centered above all others.
Okay, let's pause that again. Number one, that scenario is very specific. Most men do not react that way. Most men don't approach women, but most men don't react that way. Number two, men aren't raised in a society that tells them they're entitled to women. That's not the truth. What society actually teaches men, which is wrong, is that if you are a good person, you do the right things, you work hard, you're polite, you're responsible, women will treat you well. They're not going to roll their eyes at you. They're not going to scoff at you. They're not going to make you feel like an idiot just because you approach them. They're going to treat you kindly. This is the lie that society pushes on men. Be the good person, be the good man, and women will treat you kindly. That's not the case. You displayed that in your own hypothetical scenario. A man approaches a woman in a public space and she rolls her eyes and makes him feel bad for even talking to her. He wasn't raised to believe that he was entitled to her time and attention. He was raised to believe that him being a nice guy, women would treat him as such and not disrespect him and try to make him feel less than he is. It's a lie that society pushes, not entitlement.
And that sense of entitlement makes no man 100% safe to be around. Whether it's something as small as this passing feeling or a full-on violent rape completed with malice. Both of these things are part of the same system of male violence and domination. So when you say things like not all men, not only are you wrong, but you are helping to maintain that very system with your words. When you say nothing as your friends complain in the locker room about taking a girl on a date and not getting to sleep with her, or complain about how their wives never give them blowjobs anymore because they're too tired, you are part of the problem. No matter how passive or minuscule you deem this inaction to be, true allies watch other men and hold them accountable. True allies hold themselves accountable. They understand women's initial mistrust. They empathize, they listen, and they are open to feedback. They don't create videos about how, well, actually, they're right and they're the best ally ever. Instead, they do the work. They do the work to understand the harm they have caused and the harm and violence they are still capable of causing. And then they take action to change it. I'll leave you with this. At the end of your video, you say that we are insinuating that you are still part of the patriarchy, as if that's false, when the reality is that will never change. And I'm really surprised that you didn't learn that in your DE&I journey. As a man, you will always benefit from the patriarchy at the expense of women until it is dismantled. And that is no matter how good of an ally you think you are or actually are. Just like I, as a white woman, will always benefit from white supremacy no matter how much anti-racism work I do. And that's because these systems were designed that way. The bottom line is that too many self-proclaimed allies and feminists end up doing us harm. And so we're not just going to believe you when you say you're one of the good guys, because when it comes down to it, you have to show it with action. Precisely when you're put in an uncomfortable situation like this and challenged by something that women have brought to your attention. Anything less? Well, that's just not good enough.
So she said that she's a person who benefits from a system of white supremacy because she's a white woman. Imagine, I couldn't imagine saying it's all white people until it's no white people. That kind of thinking just seems worse than anything else. Or imagine someone said, hey, you know, these black folks in Chicago, they're shooting each other, they're stealing, you know, that's all black people until it's no black people. What? How can... The funny thing is, when you apply that kind of logic to men, nobody bats an eye. But if you apply that logic to another group of people, black people, white people, transgendered people, Jewish people, if you apply that logic, because of 1% of them, they do this, that means they all do it until none of them do it. It's absurd. It doesn't register to me. I have no idea how this rhetoric gets pushed on a huge platform like TikTok. And no one's speaking out against it because everyone's afraid of the backlash. Well, it's a good thing I don't give a shit. Well, you know, I mean, that's just the way of the world, isn't it? I don't know. Let me know if I'm off base with this. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.